Mortgage Coach community, Dave Savage coming to you live every Friday. Today, as our special guest, we have Mr. Tim Braheem. What's up, Tim?
Hey, Dave. How are you, man? Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday to you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you. Well, in this group, Tim, you've been on the Tuesday calls a lot. This Friday call is all about masterminding, bringing our community of like-minded mortgage professionals together. Hopefully, we'll get some questions, we'll get some feedback. For those of you that are watching us in Facebook Live, that's where I'll be checking out questions. For those of you that are on the Zoom platform, we'll be looking for questions there too. This is a different interview. Tim has been pushing me for, a couple of years, Tim? You've been pushing me to get more strategic, and it's great that we have scripts and tactics, but how have you put it to me in terms of the push you've given me?
I didn't realize I was pushing you. I'm not even 100% sure what you're talking about, to be honest with you. But I just if what you're saying is just talking about maybe bigger concepts than just the tactical and how they may weave into business, that's kind of what my brand is and what I enjoy. Is that what you're referring to? I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, I guess the way I take it, you've said a few times, Dave, hey, the tactics, the strategies, the scripts are great and you're killing it. But there are some bigger ideas that connect deeper that are really important right now and things that you're passionate about. Like, I think I invited you to a call to talk about, something very tactical, something very strategic that you did in your YouTube channel. And you're like, I want to talk about this. And here we are talking about this.
Well, what we're going to talk about today, you deserve the credit for. I was just kind of like more generalized and saying let's just talk about something really meaningful. Not that like pursuing a real estate agent isn't meaningful or having the right script for it isn't meaningful. Of course it is. And yet at the same time, within your forum, you have so many brilliant people between, the coaches that you have on and then the great loan originators that you have on, some of which are clients of mine and others which are clients of other coaching companies that are just killing it. And I just feel like, okay, there's another topic or a bigger topic that maybe we could talk about. And, you were the one who picked the topic. So I give you all the credit for it. And I'm super excited to just be talking about it because to me, it's very meaningful for me and for a lot of people I know.
Well, let's get into it. So Tim had referred a video that I watched, which was an interview with Chip Conley, who's a business leader that I've followed for probably a decade. He's a pioneer in the hospitality business. I would say he probably was, if he didn't invent the boutique hotel business, he's the guy that took it and scaled it in a way that had never been done before. His most recent accomplishment is that he is an advisor to Airbnb.
He's he's on the board.
So he's on the board now. It originally happened where the founders, he was like a rock star to the founders of Airbnb, and he came in as an advisor. And to your point, now he's a board member. And then he was interviewed by Tim Bilyeu. Tom Bilyeu.
Tom Bilyeu.
Someone that you introduced me to.
You had the right first and last name initials.
I got the initials right. Well, you hooked me up with this interview, and I think you said, hey, this is something that I have been having some of my coaching clients watch. So I'm like, what's Tim having his coaching clients watch? And then I think I came to you like, wow, that was so mind-bending. I'm watching it again. I think I'm on my third view. Let's do a call on it. Let's you and I talk about it. So why don't we start with, why are you referring this to your clients? What is it about this interview?
Well, first of all, just to take you back a couple of steps, my partner, Julie Wykes, who's a terrific coach, one of the things that makes her a terrific coach is that she's constantly educating herself, just like I am, and just like Scott Bruton, our other coaches. And Julie was the one who stumbled upon Tom Bilyeu and Impact Theory. So for those of you that don't know of the show Impact Theory, it's a video podcast, I think would probably be the right way of describing it. Just go to Impact Theory on your search engine, and there's just so many episodes. And Tom Bilyeu is a great interviewer, and he interviews somebody for about 45 minutes on a specific topic. And it's usually business / growth and development related. And, you know, it was perfect because we were kind of running out of TED Talks. I mean, as a part of the curriculum for my coaching platform for many, many years now, with all the retreats that we do and just in between retreats with masterminding calls we do, you know, we're always looking for content to disseminate to our clients that would be a good topic to expand our consciousness, our business acumen, et cetera. And so when I stumbled upon impact theory, I started just diving in, and I listen to and or watch them somewhat frequently, and from time to time will, in fact, refer certain ones to my clients and or show certain impact theories on our retreats, like health and wellness and things of that nature that are impactful to our clients. So in closing, Julie sent me an impact theory with Chip Conley about maybe 120 days ago. And I was listening to it and I was just like, oh my God, this is like absolutely perfect for curriculum for our next master's retreat that we're having here in Los Angeles. And the really interesting thing about it was I had met Chip because I am kind of deeply integrated at this point at a place called the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, which is a personal growth and development retreat center. And he is on the board of directors there. And I was invited to a very special gathering at Esalen about a year or two ago, I guess 2 years ago. And Chip did a little workshop. It was very intimate. It was like 20 people, and I was one of those 20 people. And it was about how to be relevant in the second half of your life, which I thought was a really interesting topic, right? Like one that not many people are talking about. And one of the things that we talked very actively about, the 20 of us, was, you know, things are changing so quickly, right? And the difference between the knowledge and skill set of a 25-year-old in today's day and age and a 50 or 60-year-old is dramatic. And we live a lot longer than we used to. I mean, it used to be, as he says in the Impact Theory interview and articulates so well, Dave, it's like there didn't used to be a midlife, right? Like, right. I mean, like midlife has been really expanded now because now we live to be like 80, 85 years old, and we kind of lose relevance or can lose relevance at around 50 or 55. So like, what do you do to stay relevant for the next 30 to 35 years? It used to be that you die in 5 or 10 years and you would have grandchildren by the time you're, 45 or 50, because people get married really young and have kids really young. And all of that has been stretched out. And along with that has come a significant amount of depression in the world, right? Because there are people, I mean, all the statistics show that when life is devoid of meaning, that we become depressed. And that's why suicide rates are really high and a lot of things. So we really explored and unpacked this together in this few hours that we were together at this workshop. And I found it to be like incredible material. And then I think he does an even better job, frankly, with it in the Impact Theory interview. So yeah, that's a little bit of a background as to how this interview came into form. And when we showed it, we actually started our master's retreat in April with that interview. Everybody came into the room. They didn't know what to expect. We turned the lights down. We played it. And it was hugely impactful and very moving. And there were some real aha moments for a lot of the people in our coaching program that are kind of in that age. I guess one last thing that I'll say is that if you're 30, 35 years old and you're sitting here going, well, this doesn't apply to me. Gosh, I have a lot to say about that. And I'm sure you do too, Dave. Like if I had the wisdom 15 years ago that I have now, I would have been even more dangerous and potent as a man, and that holds true for women as well. So you're never too young to learn about life experiences and what can make life meaningful. So back to you.
So there's when I took notes, there's about 10 quotes that I wrote down, and they were partially prepped for this. And then there were really 3 concepts that I thought that I got from this. And my number one was this concept itself. And I shared this video with Josh Metal. Everybody knows Josh. I did an interview with him about a week ago. We called it The Art and Science of Personal Connection with Josh Metal. Just talking to him, Tim, it was interesting how many of the things he's doing, were like fingerprints from things that he's got from you and the coaching you're doing. So it was kind of cool. But I in prep for this, I'm like, Josh, what was your number one takeaway? And he sent me a 1-minute video this morning. And his number one takeaway was just that. He's like, first of all, I'm going to live to be 120. Like, that's the game I'm playing physically, mentally, and how I'm building wealth for my family. And then he said, and my real bullseye is how I'm going to end that last 20 years. You know, like I'm playing today so that I am financially where I need to be, I'm physically where I need to be, and I'm pumped. So I thought that was interesting. Now, the way my personal takeaways when I heard that part of the interview, when he was talking about, I think he's 58 when he did the interview, and he's like, hey,
Correct.
I'm going to live to be 40 more years. At least that's what I believe. That's how I'm living. And I'm learning how to surf for the first time. You know, that was the metaphor he used. And when I first heard it, it really hit me. And then I thought to myself, you know, my dad got relocated when I was a sophomore in high school, and we moved to Huntington Beach. I was a football player, jock, but even as a sophomore in high school, I was like, oh, it's too late. I didn't start surfing when I was a kid because I went to school with all these kids that grew up surfing. And so my junior year in high school, I'm like, surfing, too late, missed it. You know, I won't be on the national team. And I've literally lived my whole life. Here I am, you know, 54 going, oh, too old to surf. Didn't start when I was a kid. You know, oh, I want to be a rock star. Too bad I didn't learn to sing and do that when I was a teenager. I like my personal reflection after hearing that interview was, oh my God, I thought I'm like a open to change guy. I'm always evolving. And I started just going, oh my God, I've got some beliefs personally that are holding me back from that next 40 years of awesomeness.
Yeah.
And then I started reflecting on, you know, local referral-based mortgage professionals that are, you know, 45, 55, 58 that are just going, you know, I didn't grow up using technology. Oh, social media is for the kids. And I'm just like, you know, I'm just like thinking to myself, wow, if every mortgage professional listened to that, you know, and really believed that, hey, I'm going to live to be 100, they would just show up differently. So anyways, that was the thought I had.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I don't know that you know what I'm about to share, because I don't think I've ever shared this with you. But before I tie myself right into that whole surfing thing with you and with Chip, let me share this. I'm going to share a few kind of excerpts from the interview that were big takeaways for me, and then try to tie it all together. So one of the things that he said that is really noteworthy for everybody listening is that presence is a more precious commodity now than it was 20 years ago. That's big in my view. I mean, when you think about it, everybody's on one of these all the time. Families don't even communicate with each other anymore. Everybody's hiding behind their technology. The more we know this, right, from Business 101, the more scarce the commodity is, the more valuable it is. Okay, supply and demand. Okay, if the supply of presence and the supply of connection is more scarce than it's ever been, it's in more demand and it's more valuable. He talks about the fact that the first half of life for most people is about attaining, building that wealth. And the second half is about attuning, connecting to yourself and to others. Whether you're 35, 55, or 70, the message that I'm hearing there that I want to impart upon all of you is to start to give consideration to what it will take for you to become more attuned to the world. Because the more attuned you are, the more connected you are, the more valuable you will be. This is one of the things that he and I and the small group of people talked about 2 years ago at Esalen, was that you may not be able to keep up with the pace of technology. You may not be able to efficiently facilitate your social media marketing strategies in the way a millennial would. Okay. But what they'll never have that you have is the wisdom of experience, okay, that you can draw from having lived more life. Like that is the gift that we have as we get older, is that life experience. Now, the life experience continues to grow and evolve the more that you continue as a human being to step into the unknown, to be willing to try new things. So let's tie this down to what you were saying. And it's really interesting because I didn't know that about you, about surfing. So I'm 52 years old. I was laying on the beach in Costa Rica 2 years and 3 months ago. I spent a month there for my 50th birthday. And I was watching these guys surf. I was there by myself. My friends had just departed. I was waiting for the next group of friends to come into town. And I thought to myself, man, like I always wanted to surf. Like I grew up in Southern California in the South Bay. I used to love to go to the beach and boogie board, but I'd never go out more than waist high. Why? I was afraid of sharks, man. I grew up when Jaws was like the hot movie. I was
I remember that.
Plus the water, dude, the water's freaking cold and it's murky in Southern California. So you can't see what's going on down there. And I was this skinny little kid that was always afraid. Like I was afraid of the power of the waves and I was afraid of like what's down there. And it prevented me from surfing my whole life. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching these guys surf and I'm thinking, man, that looks so fun. And I have so many friends that are Costa Rican and they all surf. My accountant, my lawyer, my property manager, everybody. And I thought to myself, man, it's too bad that I never did that. I'm too old for it now. And I went, wait a minute. Like, who says that I'm too old? Like, why do I have to be too old? I mean, why can't I try? So I decided to really commit because I knew from a little bit of experience and taking some lessons with my kids that, you know, it's not a sport that, you know, you try every while. You're either all in or you're not.
You're choking up salt water.
It's the hardest.
I have surfed, but it wasn't an enjoyable experience. It was a beating.
It's tough. So I decided I was going to take lessons for 6 straight days, which I did. And then I committed to like going down like every 3 months to Costa Rica to surf for like a week at a time. Right. And now it's my great passion. Like I don't even play golf anymore because if I'm going to pick between the two, I'm surfing.
What?
And,
I did not know that.
I'm actually leaving on Tuesday morning to go down with my boy who's out of school for summer break. My son, he started surfing at the same time. So we're going on a little surf vacation down to Costa Rica for 10 days starting Tuesday. And we're going to surf just about every day. We'll probably take a few days off here and there. But for me, it's like one of the great gifts that I've given to myself in my life is this new sport that I took up when I was 50 years old. And in closing, the really amazing thing about surfing, and you read this in Stealing Fire, because I know you read that book that I also recommended to you, is that surfing is a very spiritual experience because by definition, it is a meditation. You cannot be not present when you're surfing. I mean, you have to, and you can't control the wave. You have to surrender to and be with the wave. So when you talk about attunement, okay, you have to attune to nature and its power and align with it, which is what he's talking about when he says that like the first half of life is about imposing your will to get what you want. And the second half of life is more about aligning and attuning with your world, with your friends, with your family, with your partner, with nature, with whatever. So I thought it was a beautiful metaphor, and it was something that really resonated for me.
Yeah. So we could spend this whole interview talking about it's never too late to change. And, you know, hopefully a takeaway for anyone that listens to it is you're going to tackle something personally and I love the way you said it, Tim. I gave myself a gift and I learned to surf. So, you know, whatever that is, you know, it could be playing music, could be learning archery, could be something that you just like, oh, I never did it. Too bad I never did it. What gift can you give yourself that it would have been great if you would have started in grade school, but it's not too late. And so that's something. And then I do want to tie it to business because there are things that if you're gonna be in business for another decade, I think they actually close the interview with something like, I want to make the next decade better than the last decade. And I do believe there's a lot of people that are local, referral-based lenders and realtors that are like, the next decade's not going to be better. And I don't even know if I'm going to be eliminated 2 decades from now. Mm-hmm. And so first, I would just get everybody on this call to wrap their head around the next decade can be better. And it will be better for some people because here's the deal. If you're a local referral-based mortgage professional, you've never had better technology, access to technology to implement what you want. and you've never had more access to wisdom and best practices of the masters of the business, through the mortgage coach, through Tim Braheem. It's like, guys, we've never had more access to wisdom and best practices and mind-bending technology to power awesomeness. So the next decade could be your best decade ever. And for many of you, it will be. I mean, I know Josh Metal is going to do better over the next 10 years than he did over the previous. And I could go through the names that I do that. So Tim, with that said, what are a couple business skills that you think mortgage professionals should adopt that, let's just say, the majority of them don't have, but some skills that you would urge them to develop?
I'm going to tie it back to Chip again, because the beautiful thing about Chip Conley in this interview is, if we always, it's easy to forget, because he talks about, Burning Man, and I want to get into the pilgrimage thing because I think it's super important, but we'll get into that in a minute. But Burning Man and surfing and all that in the interview. But this is a guy who's on the board of directors for Airbnb and had his own multi-million-dollar hotel chain. So he's legit. He's an author of 5 business books, and he knows his stuff. And one of the things one of the quotes that I remember him saying was, he said, the first half of life is about being interesting, and then the second half of life is about being interested. So when you talk about developing a skill for business, I think that's one of the key skills, is to be curious and to truly be interested in other people. I think most people that I meet have developed their business in such a way to where it has by necessity been about self-promotion, building a brand, marketing yourself, putting yourself on social media, wearing your suit and tie, developing your selling presentation to look impressive, your personal brochure, whatever. Okay. And that's all valuable stuff. And I did all of that too. And what I'm also acutely aware of is the fact that, especially in today's day and age, when we get so much of that, all the voyeurism, because there's a ton of it out there, all over Instagram especially, is that it's really refreshing and a very valuable limited commodity to have someone that actually is interested in you and takes the time to be present and asks a lot of good open-ended questions and is a good listener. The best person that I know at this skill is my partner, Julie Wykes, and it's remarkable to watch her. And those that are listening to this, and I know Josh will be, and Josh could validate this, it is incredible the level of connection that woman can create with another human being, and how much our clients love her. She outscores me as a coach because she's more connected. I mean, when we do our surveys, she gets higher scores than me from our clients. And it's because she really has mastered the skill of being present. And it's why our clients love her so much. And the same would hold true for you as a mortgage professional. I mean, what would it be like? How many more clients would want to work with you, come back to you, refer people to you? How many more referral partners would want to work to you if you were perceived by them as being truly interested in them? And it's just a really simple phrase. I mean, the first half's about being interesting. The second half is about being interested. Question is, how interested are you really in the well-being of those people? It's a real fair question, and one that only you can answer for yourself, but one worth pondering, because our egos can get really big and we can be very interested in our own self-gain and our own goals and objectives. And if you think for a second that the other person doesn't feel that difference, you're kidding yourself. Because whether they know it or not, on a subconscious level, we're all connecting energetically. And I know when somebody's there with me and when somebody isn't. I know when somebody's looking directly in my eyes, but they're not there. And if you really pay attention, you can feel it too. And I also know that when somebody's looking directly in my eyes and I'm talking with them, and they are there. And that is, in my mind, one of the most important skills that you can be developing to really strengthen your business relationships.
Well, you have obviously been connecting that message with Josh, and I didn't know where this interview was going to go. When I interviewed him, I think it was last Saturday, it was, I came into it going, hey, we're going to do this interview on a mortgage strategy. We're going to pull up a TCA and he's going to do some scripts. And it just didn't go that way. you know, it went, and he started like, hey, Josh, it's spring home buying season. You know, what are your priorities? And he started with connection. Sure, he got that through your influence. But then he said something to me that was a whole pivot where he talked about, I've always been focused on getting people to like me. And now my number one focus with every client is for me to like them, you know? And so guys, link down below.
And let me give him some props on something else, because I'm intimately familiar with his goals and action items in his business and life plan that he created in our program. A major focus of Josh, and he's executing on this in a big way, and I'm super proud of him, was taking that same philosophy with his team and with his loan originators that work on his team. So really showing them that he is investing into them and that he cares about them. So those of you that are leaders that have other people underneath you that are really the engine behind your success, that's a great focal point. And super big props to Josh, because he identified that in Costa Rica at our retreat and has really been executing on that, coaching them, spending the one-on-one time with them, connecting them, and letting them know that he really is interested in their well-being. And he's getting a lot out of it, and his business exploding as a result.
No doubt. And he said a few other things, how as he's listening and trying to like them and really investing, super present, looking for that thing that he could lead, you know, that advice moment, you know, where I can come in and teach them something. And then, you know, because Josh gets a lot of this business online, he doesn't have people coming into his office. He's like, I'm just looking for every opportunity to personally connect. And one of the tactical takeaways, and it's a skill that I would urge everybody on this call to master, is video, you know, and Josh is putting the video in the total cost analysis. But you know what Josh is also doing, guys, is after talking to that client, you know, just like I'm talking to my mobile phone right now, he's talking into his mobile phone, no fancy tech, just his mobile phone, leaving a video. I heard you. I connected with you. Here's the most efficient way to do business with me. And he's leaving like a 1 minute mobile to mobile video. Brilliant. You know, so I mean, it's like personal connection. Again, to your point, if you're not really connecting, if you're really not liking this person, they're going to feel it. But then using technology and video as a tool, it's about high touch, high tech. Any thoughts on that, Tim? And then we'll get into the
those
group.
Those are things that that I've been saying for some time now, and I've heard, you know, other people say, and I think I've even heard in this forum of other guests that you've had, that this combination of high touch and high tech. And no, I think that it's, you know, listen, you can only connect with so many people. Let's be honest about it. I mean, so to have that as an addition is important. To have it as a supplement is a bad move. So in other words, like if you're going to just use that only and not really connect with people, then you're hiding behind the technology. But if you're using it as a way to leverage your time, that's where I think it's a great add-on. I also think that it's really important for, when we talk about the subject matter of connection, Dave, for people to really look within and ask themselves the question, do they have a hard time connecting? Because a lot of people do. A lot of people have a hard time being seen. I know that I used to. I can still struggle with it sometimes. I mean, you know, you don't know this probably, but I used to, at the business plan events as an example, that I used to run, that you used to attend, you know, to have, you know, 15, 1,800 people in the audience. And I was the host of the show, so to speak, for 4 days. I had a deal with my assistant, Ruth, that as soon as I'm done, you meet me at the end of the stage, you engage me in some type of fictitious conversation, and we walk directly out that room through the casino and all the way over to my hotel elevator so I can escape and get upstairs. Like, I was petrified of the audience. I know that probably comes as a big shock to a lot of people, because they think that because I'm up on the stage that I'm like loving the limelight. Not at all, man. Like I really had to work hard to get comfortable with being seen. I mean, because when I'd get off the stage and people would come up to me and thank me and say all of these things to me, I was uncomfortable in my own skin. So I bring this up just because for some people, it can be really difficult to hold eye contact. it can be really difficult to truly be present. And what I want to say is that, it's a practice, and you need to be patient with yourself, and you need to take, a look at that. There's a quote also in Chip's interview that I think is really important, which he says, what's behind, let me read it real quick. He says, what's behind curiosity, which, curiosity is, to me, one of the great virtues that any human being can possess. And when you're talking about like growing as you get older, that's going to require curiosity. And he says, what's behind curiosity is a lack of fear to ask naive questions. So, we all move around posturing ourselves and protecting ourselves and trying to act like we know everything. And that stunts our growth. And what's really, really important is to be brave enough to say, you know what, I actually don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain that to me? That's where we grow. That's where we learn, is when we're brave enough to ask naive questions and be curious. So I think that that's just an important footnote. Anything that
Well, I want to make sure at some point we get to that part where he talks about what business are you in, what master you have. So that's definitely a conversation I want to have. I know you want to have a conversation around the pilgrimage and the communal aspects. We're going to do that next. I do want to pile on curiosity for a few more minutes, because I do think that is something that holds a lot of people back. It's like where we're at in business today is what got us here. And if you want to go and make your next decade better, you can't believe everything you think, and I'd say that's always been one of my gifts. I don't know if it happened, it's in my genes. I don't know if it's how I was raised. I don't know why. I've always been curious, and I never, yes, I believe a lot of what I think, and I evangelize a lot about what I believe, but I think that's an asset I've had. But I do believe, I talk to a lot of mortgage professionals. I see a lot of folks that, especially as you get older, whatever the age is, the older you get, the more you get fixed. And this is who I am. This is what I believe. And I don't know, Tim, if you have any thoughts, if you put people through any drills to grow curiosity, because like if we could give everybody one gift that they're going to come out of this call, and they're not going to worry about being more interesting, but more interested, and they're going to be more curious, and they're going to grow their curiosity. I mean, that would be valuable. So any thoughts you have on that? Any exercises?
I have a lot of thoughts. I think that the exercise should be what Chip divulged. So we could just dive right into that, because I think that that's a perfect example of a curiosity exercise. But I'll just say that, I spoke about this at Stephen's event a few years ago about curiosity and fear, and how they're the antithesis of each other. And, I kind of pride myself, like you, on being a really curious person. It's a quality in me that I really like a lot. And it's why I continue to expand and grow, because I'm always willing to try new things. And really kind of embrace this like little phrase that I made up, which is, like, I wonder, like, what could that be? What am I missing here? Or what could be different? Or what might be possible? That type of internal questioning, rather than being kind of locked up and playing it safe, right? Like, a lot of people play life safe and do life today exactly the way they did it yesterday, which is exactly the way they did it a year ago. And if you keep doing that, you're going to have the exact same repetitive, mundane life until you die. Versus what I believe is that we're all here to grow and expand and evolve. So the exercise that he talks about is, it's a simple exercise that you could do like a work colleague. Okay. So it starts with, you can ask one of two questions. Either what business are you in, or what mastery do you offer? Pick either one. So if it's Dave and I doing it, let's just say we start with what business are you in? I'll ask him that question. He'll answer it. And I'll ask him that question 5 more times. And each time he will give me an answer, but it cannot be the same answer that he gave me before. So he'll have to come up with a different answer each time. And as a result of that process, you're being curious, right? Like, you're exploring and deepening that exploration every time. And what ends up happening is, in my experience of having done this, is by the time you get to about the fourth or fifth time, you start to see much more clearly about what the mastery is that you offer or the business that you're in a much more synthesized way, because you've gotten underneath the surface level thought that you've been buying into and operating from to a deeper level of self-awareness, if that helps. Does that make sense to you, Dave, what I just shared?
Yeah, and let's just go through it real quick, like a minute or two. Everyone, I also posted that in our Facebook group, so it's at the top right now. Would love, I don't necessarily want you to multitask for those of you that are watching this live, like save it for after the conversation. But if you're watching the recording of this, just know there is a way to play along as a community and grow together around going through this exercise. So I don't know, let's go through it like in a minute or two.
Meaning you want to ask me questions or you want me to ask you questions?
Why don't you ask me questions? And,
sure.
And then
okay,
let's
great.
not do it for more than 2-3 minutes, and then let's get on with the other topics.
Okay, great. What business are you in?
I'm in the business of creating a SaaS technology company that delivers a total cost analysis.
And what business are you in?
I'm in the business of helping loan officers go from price to advice, be advisors.
And what business are you in?
I'm in the business of Amazon proofing a loan officer's business.
What business are you in?
I'm in the business of helping loan officers, help families look at their mortgage as a wealth creating decision.
And what business are you in?
I think that was as far as I was ready to go, but no, seriously, I'm in the business of changing the way people get into debt in America.
Okay, so let's stop right there. So that's actually a really perfect example, right? And it's actually perfect that after the fourth iteration, you had that, like, I think that's as far as I was willing to go, because what that says to me was that the first four were somewhat scripted answers that you've used before, right? That you've thought through and that
yeah, right. That's true.
But where you arrived, because we got past all of that, was at a deeper level of, you're in the business of, what was the last thing you said, of helping people get
changing in America, changing how people get into debt.
Great. So you're in the bit, you went from like a total cost analysis and Amazon and up here to I think what sounds to me like a much more purpose-driven initiative. Okay. It was less tactical than at the beginning and much more heartfelt at the end, which is that, like, I'm in the business of changing the way that Americans look at debt. That's a really beautiful purpose. And I'm wondering if I'd ask you if you felt on that fifth level, if that in any way shifts the way that you would look at strategically approaching your business going forward.
I mean, absolutely. That definitely changes a lot of things. And that is a bit of an epiphany I had coming out of the meltdown. I think it was the first time I watched Simon Sinek's TED Talk, and I really wrapped around, my why. I don't think I said it the way I just said it, but I did start thinking of, the legacy and the purpose of Mortgage Coach. It is more than being a SaaS technology company. And one of the things that we do is we actually, our number one metric is how many times does a family get a total cost analysis, because that is a fingerprint of social change. And the goal is millions a year. So one more thought on curiosity, and then let's talk about the communal takeaways that you had. He also had a thing that he does at the end of every week that I think would grow curiosity. And that was, he takes time at the end of every week to, like, what are the 5 things I learned this week? And the thing I liked about that is if you establish that ritual, to book in your week with, what did I learn? One, it's going to create humility. That's a practice of humility. That means you learned something new. It's going to create some intention. And it's gonna, you do that for 5 weeks in a row. And by the way, I have not done it yet. Mm-hmm. I actually, in prep for this interview, I caught that. Like, it's like every time I've heard the interview, I'm like, oh, That's another takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
But I pulled that out of this last watch was, whoa, that would be an exercise that would grow humility and curiosity. Any thoughts on that, Tim, before we get into the communal takeaways?
Yeah, I do a process and have been now for about 7 months every morning with my journal, where I have actually 10 different thought prompters to journal on and to start my day. And one of them, as an example, is thoughts that I'm no longer willing to think. And then I'll write something down every day. Another one is behaviors that I'm no longer willing to exhibit. Another one is areas where healthy boundaries need to be drawn, because this is an area where I think that we miss a lot as human beings, is that we don't draw boundaries in our lives. He talks a lot about this indirectly when he talks about editing, which I thought was a very big topic. Okay.
Big topic.
Yeah. There are unhealthy people in all of our lives that we have, and we, out of our own stuff, we can allow a lot more into our life than we should be. Another one is just that every day I write down something that I love about me. Like, so it'll be, things that I love about you, Tim, and I'll write one thing down. I think that one might be a little uncomfortable for some people, but you know what? We don't spend enough time being our own best friend. Another one is, I don't have my journal in front of me right now, but I think that you get the point. There are 10 of them, and
well,
they're
Tim,
all.
We're gonna need to get those 10, brother. You're gonna have to.
Yeah. I can send them to you after we're done.
Post either share it to me or post it in the group. We need to get Tim Braheem's 10 steps of, is it daily journaling or weekly? Is this a weekly thing or a daily?
Every morning I get up and have my cup of hot water before I meditate, and I journal, and it takes me about 10 minutes. I find it to be really revelatory, because there's another process that I do every once in a while that I learned from Tim Ferriss, watching his impact theory, that I'll mention, which is, I think, really, really valuable.
I've got to watch that one. I haven't watched it.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not one of my favorites, but it's not bad. And there's a great takeaway in it. And the great takeaway is that he starts every morning doing something that I learned in school about a decade ago, but I've never done it in this way, which is called freeform writing. So every morning he starts off by writing as fast as he can and for as long as he needs to about anything that he's pissed off about, feeling stress about, having any anxiety about. You just go, 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 go. You let it all out. Like, nobody will ever read it. It could be F this. It could be you're angry with your spouse. It could be you're angry with your staff. It could be whatever. And then when he's done, he rips it up and throws it away, and then he starts his day. And I think that's a really, really, really cool exercise. Because think about it for a minute. Like, you want to go into your day carrying that shit, or do you want to get it out and start clean? That was a big takeaway from that interview. I did
funny. I do that, like, in Evernote. I have rants, and then I also have some drafts in my inbox. But you know what I don't do is I don't delete them. I got to delete them. You know what? I'll write a rant and get it out, but then I save that shit. I need to delete it.
There's 2 reasons you got to delete it. Number one, 3 things that I want to say. I would encourage you to write it, not type it. There is a big difference kinesthetically.
But what if you can't read your own writing?
Doesn't matter. Well, you're not going to go back and read it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I know. I'm having fun there.
But
I can read my own writing, but no one else can.
Because the kinesthetic behavior of writing it is a much more powerful, energetic experience than typing it. That's number one. Number 2 is you don't want to read it again, because then you're taking it back on.
I get it.
Rather than getting it out and being rid of it, you're taking it back in. Number 3 is you absolutely want to destroy it. And the reason you want to destroy it is because on a subconscious level, if you know that it could be laying around and read by somebody else, you won't say everything you want to say. And that's the real key thing. If you know that it's going to be gone when you're done, then you will really let it all hang out. And that's a really healing and healthy process.
No doubt. And that whole concept was a big takeaway from Becoming Supernatural with Dispenza, and listen to Tom's interview with Dispenza, and he just talks about, like, hey, we have these bad things that happen, and we just keep reliving them. We've got to move on. So hey, we could spend a lot of time on that. Let's do this, because we've got 15 more minutes. So first of all, everyone, I also want to make sure you guys don't just listen to this interview with Tim and I and, like, entertainment. It was a good hour. and move on. I mean, my hope is that you're going to listen to the other interview that we referenced. You're going to take some notes, and you're going to pick at least one of the topics. And if I had you pick one as a mortgage professional, well, I'm going to give you two. You're going to get more clear on your business. So please do that exercise with a friend, a coach. You know, why, what business are you in, and what is your mastery? And please post as much of that as you want in our Facebook group. And then hopefully you're also going to really adopt some new habit that is going to grow your curiosity. Because I have a feeling if you grow your curiosity, you'll grow your presence. So Tim, you said about, I don't know, 30 minutes ago, you really wanted to talk about the communal takeaways that you had in there. I don't know if we're going to announce right now that we're going to do a Burning Man expedition, which I'm not prepared to commit to right now. Just FYI.
I don't think I'll ever go to Burning Man. I'm too much of a sissy when it comes to dust. It's just not. I can't deal with allergies.
First of all, it's cool if you're not going to go to Burning Man, but let's not let that be the reason, please. And let's not admit that in public. Don't admit that.
There would be no other reason, truthfully, because everything else about it actually intrigues me. But so here's the thing.
I'm going to Burning Man one day. I think Josh and I are going to Burning Man. So guys, in 2020, maybe 2021, Josh and I will be announcing a mortgage Burning Man expedition. So anyways, what are your takeaways, buddy?
All right. So this is the most fascinating part of the interview for me with Chip, because I have personally experienced this so much in the last decade or so in my life. So what he talks about revisiting for a moment this phenomenon, okay, that I don't know that most of us really have clued into. At least I certainly hadn't. Was that so? First of all, life has rituals. So like when you are in certain faiths, you go through bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, confirmation, this rite of passage as a teenager. When you get to early life, you graduate from, high school or college. Okay. That's a ritualistic experience, this moment of pause and connection and celebration. Then you have a child, or then you get married, I should say, hopefully in this order, you get married, then you have a child. Those are both ritualistic experiences. Okay. But then what happens is that there never was a ritual for midlife, because midlife didn't exist, because you basically died when you were 50. Okay. And that's where the midlife crisis terminology came in, was when we started living longer, because there's this period of time in our life without ritual, without this re-anchoring into what's important, without this reconnecting to tribe. So when we grow up, we have our initial tribe, which is our family. Okay. And then there comes a point in time when we're about 13 years old that we have to break away from that tribe subconsciously. And Dave, you and I have talked about this, about our children and the experiences that we've had with our children. And that's why it's so hard to be a teenager, because you are needing to form a new tribe and you're having to rebel and break away from the original tribe that is your family. And you're on this search in high school for where you fit in. Okay. Then you find that tribe. And sometimes it can be a troubled experience, but it's that anchoring into communion with others that are like-minded. Then you go to college and you have that happen. Then you get married and then you start hanging out with other married couples, right? It's a new tribe. Then you have kids. Then you start hanging out with other families. That's a new tribe, and you go to the ball games together and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And then generally what happens somewhere in that period of time is you get very fixated on the creation of your legacy. And those that are watching this call can all relate to this. So you're building wealth. Work becomes the central focus of your life. It's where you spend more of your waking hours than anywhere else. And it becomes a very high intensity, jacked up nervous system experience. And most of us have, because of the responsibilities in our life of being parents, being a spouse, and being number one, first and foremost, a businesswoman or a businessman, is that the first thing that goes off the list is connection with friends. Connection with friends, connection with self. So we lose that tribe. Okay. Most of us that are really fixated on growing our business don't actually hang with our friends all that much. And I was one of those people as well. I was a father, a husband, and a businessman. Not much else time for anything else. Occasional round of golf with the buddies. So one of the things that's really interesting, so he talks about in the interview, when you watch it, he talks a lot about the importance of the ritualistic experience and the connection to tribe, because it's what gives life meaning and kind of re-anchors us in. And I will be very clear, this was not an intention. So I got indirectly lucky on this one, okay? But I see it so clearly now. It's like the people that are in the L360 family, some of which have been, in our L360 family for 8 years, it is a tribal experience. There's zero question about it. We get together 2-3 times a year on retreat, like-minded people that have similar purposes and goals in life to connect and to elevate consciousness together. And my point in sharing that is this, I do it, I go to a place in Big Sur called Esalen 2 or 3 times a year. I was just there last weekend with my daughter. It's why I go there. My tribe is there. The people that go to Esalen are people who are looking to elevate their consciousness, Silicon Valley executives that are looking to grow personally, hippies that are, living in the woods and the redwoods that want to grow personally. But the common denominator of the Chip Conleys and the Tim Braheems and whoever else are there are people that are wanting to be curious and grow. And that's my tribe. It doesn't have to be your tribe, but you all have a tribe that you really feel comfortable with. The question is, are you gifting yourself the experience of connecting with that tribe? The people that go to Stephen's event as an example, half of them don't even attend the seminar part. Why do they go? They go to connect to their tribe. They want to go and be with other people at Todd's event or Stephen's event, or in the past at my event, that they can talk business with and have that similar connection with, and have a good time with. So let me pause right there. And I think you want to say something, Dave, to this effect.
Well, so one, I want to make sure everybody knows when he says Stephen's event, he's talking about the Mortgage Mastermind event, first week in June in Las Vegas. Tim and I will be there. Mentioned Todd Duncan, Sales Mastery, and no doubt, those are tribes. We go there to connect with those folks. I did want to give everybody a tactic that I learned from Bob Bodine, awesome book called The Power of Who. I don't know if you've ever read it, if you know who Bob is.
I've heard his name. I've met him actually in Texas, right?
Yeah. I've interviewed him a few times, and he has this whole premise that it's our who. We've got 12. Jesus had 12. We have our 12. And then he grows his business to like 80 people that I love, that love me. And then he has what he calls Who Friday. So on Friday from noon on, all he does is call people that he knows that love him. It could be a high school buddy, could be a college buddy, Who Friday. So I do want to remind everybody that is a habit I've established. Well, I have to admit, some Fridays I don't do it, but it's in my calendar. Like every Friday from noon on is Who Friday. And I would just throw every mortgage professional out there, expand that group of people that you call. Like, let's face it, to be a top producing mortgage professionals, the phone needs to be your friend. Meeting people, talking to people needs to be your friend. Time block sometimes to call your who. And by the way, you can do business with your who. You can call people, tell them you love them, and then go, anybody looking to do a loan? I mean, you can do that. So Tim, I love that. I want to make sure before we get to my last question.
Real quick, can I just piggyback off that and say that, when you talk about curiosity, this is a good like blending of the two. So the question would be for everyone to take away and ponder is this: who's your tribe? Like, what are your interests? What are the things that when you're engaged in really make your heart sing, really light you up, really make time stand still? It could be sports. It could be a book club. It could be spiritual people. It could be people that like to hike and mountain climb, rock climb, whatever. I mean, there's so many things. And then ask yourself the question, like, am I connecting with that, with like-minded people that enjoy that same experience as much as I can? Because that's what gives life purpose and meaning, is to have that to anchor into as a balance to the chaos of life, right? The difficult times is to be able to commune with that tribe, which is exactly why I do it on a very consistent basis in my life. I would say about every month or two, I'm connecting with my tribe, and it's important for me.
Love that. Well, before I ask my last question, we have our last topic. I just want to make sure everybody knows how to connect with you. You know, like what's the best way to follow you? If anybody wants to reach out and, you know, become part of your tribe,
Yeah.
what's the best way to do that?
I'm so bad about this stuff. It's first of all, let's see, the way to connect with our website. We have a new website that kind of has information on all the stuff that we do. Is www.leadership360now.com. So LEADERSHIP 360NOW.com. We are currently in our annual application process for the Leadership 360 program. We have 3 spots filled, and we have 6 spots that are available. We take 9 new people every year on that 1-year journey. And we also have some private coaching spots available as well. So if you are interested in exploring, because that's what we first do, is just explore mutually, whether it feels like a good fit, go to the site, just fill out a little quick app. Scott Bertone, my partner and executive coach for our company, will set up a first interview with you, and we'll send you a little video on the program. You'll get a little bit of an understanding of it. You know, we're very blessed. I mean, as this has grown, the L360 family is an incredible group of people. I mean, you know, you mentioned Josh, he's in the L360 family, Danny Haranyi, and just a whole bunch of other people, Misty Lapham. Michelle Town is a new member to the L360 family. She's going to be—
all right, go Michelle,
in the next group, and we're really happy to have her. And a long other list of really talented and more importantly, giving people. Like that's what makes it such a strong tribe, is just everybody helps each other. And it's really fun to be a part of it. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, no problem. And if you're watching the recording, there'll be a link down below. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, we'll put a link in comments. And if you're watching this in YouTube, there's a description right under this video. Look down there and we'll have a link to that. And again, I know most of Tim's tribe, and most of them use Mortgage Coach. Most of them are some of the most successful, and not just successful, but some of the most humble, hungry, cool people you ever meet. So big fan, brother. So,
thank you.
So let's wrap this up, because, well, I know I'm going to listen to this myself, just because there was some really good takeaways. And your 10, you know, the Tim Braheem daily 10 questions, man, that was a nugget. So, you know, in the last 4 minutes, you're a coach. You know, that's what you do for a living. You know our community well. Like, give us 4 minutes of, I don't know if it's going to be, hey guys, we just did this call and you're going to coach us up to get the most from this call, or whether you just have one more big takeaway that you want to give referral-based local loan officers. You know, you got 4 minutes to close it out.
I'm going to throw you a big curveball right now, because you're probably not expecting this at all, but it's like, just go get all those refis, man. Like, I mean, it's crazy to me.
Yeah,
like,
right?
This is something that just drives me bananas, is these, I actually just did, Julie and I just hosted a retreat for 12 members of a board of directors of a major mortgage company that were in town for 2 days. And I was playing golf with 3 of the board members, and I asked them, like, are you guys just killing it on refis right now? And they, you know, our loan officers are pretty much purchase market centric. We're still like 87, 89% purchases. And I'm like, do you guys hate money or something? I mean, like, what's the deal? Like, I don't get it. It's like, that's why we do this for a living. First of all, if you're not proactively, if you don't have a system to proactively get to your clients the minute that the window of opportunity is open for them to save money, you're not doing your job. You're just absolutely failing them, and you're not doing your job. Your job is to manage their debt. I mean, your job doesn't end. It just begins when the purchase loan closes. From there, it's your job to assist them in managing that debt, which means you watching for market opportunities that arise, which have arisen, of course, in the last few months, and proactively connecting with them on a variety of different options that are all easily displayed and brilliantly compared and contrasted with the total cost analysis. Everything from shortening their term by reapplying principal, or shortening their term by actually restructuring the loan and shortening their term, or saving them money and having them allocate that towards investment opportunities. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So as much as I'm sure you probably weren't expecting that answer from me, Dave, it's really—
I wasn't.
Well, it's really interesting because like I get like I'm finally at a point of finding it humorous, but it's also still somewhat frustrating when I have a conversation with an originator like, well, you know, I haven't really gotten around to calling the opportunities yet. I think there's probably a dozen in there. I'm like, yeah, like you could have 2 years in one if you work smart here, you know. And I'll say one last thing is that there is what's Kelly doing there?
Oh, is Kelly a client?
Yeah, Kelly's a very good friend of mine, and she's in the L360 family.
Okay, so check this out. The reason I just pulled it up is I interviewed her yesterday. So the way I interviewed her is I had noticed that she had done like 88 total cost analysis last year. And I was like, or not, excuse me, not last year, last month. So in the month of April, Kelly did 88 TCAs. And I'm like, Kelly, what are you doing? She's like, I'm killing it. So yeah, I interviewed her yesterday.
Kelly doesn't hate money.
No. I think she did like 12 million. Yeah. I mean, it was 10 million last month, and she's on track to do like 12.7 this month. Mm-hmm. So guys, I did not expect that. I'm really happy about that because that gave me one of my tactical takeaways for the call. But guys, listen to this interview with Kelly. Listen to the interview with Josh. Epic leaders, killing it, closing more loans in a single year.
And watch the interview with Chip Conley.
But most importantly, that's what this call is about. Watch that interview. Yeah. So we did give you guys a lot of homework, and I do like those closing thoughts, Tim. So brother, super grateful for this conversation, for your friendship, and for the leadership you bring to the community. Remember, we get the Tim Braheem 10 questions, daily morning questions.
I'll have them to you in an hour. I've got a call with the L360 family right now.
All right, guys. So if you like this interview, give us a like it in Facebook, like it in YouTube, and share it with your mortgage friends. And if you're a manager or a leader, don't just run past this, get entertained for an hour. You know, take some time and go through this with the people that you lead. Tim Braheem, you the man, brother.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Bye-bye.